This certainly is another strike on Trump's, I guess I would say, his offensive, aggressive approach with bringing jobs back to America. I don't know if this is one's working, but it's we're going to look at it right now. This is Trump declaring war on Hollywood with more tariffs. The movie industry in America is dying a very fast death. Other countries are offering all sorts of incentives to draw our filmmakers and studios away from the U.S. Hollywood and many other areas within the U.S. are being devastated. This is a concerted effort by other nations and therefore a national security threat. It is, in addition to everything else, messaging and propaganda. Therefore, I'm authorizing the Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade Representative to immediately begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming into our country that are produced in foreign lands. We want movies made in America again. Well, as you guys probably could guess, there's been a lot of pushback already on this approach to the Hollywood problem. And make no mistake, we have a problem here. We've been covering it here on this show for the entire time we've existed here because we're based here in Hollywood. So one of the reasons we started the show was a counter to the Hollywood problem. What is the problem? The studios have captured all of the integrity of filmmaking. They've taken, as far as the money line goes, they've taken everything. The people that have lost their jobs are due to the new technology, the streaming platforms, the AI implementation, screwing over the workers in the process. You guys know we've been going on strikes, constantly strikes. All the unions here going on strikes for the last several years. SAG, WGA, IATSE, all of them in constant battle with the shareholders and the CEO. So you guys know all this. Plus the content. This is the worst part. The content is suffering because of DEI initiatives and studios now implementing AI programs to write their freaking scripts. Everything is cookie cutter blueprint. You've lost the soul of filmmaking. The soul of the artist is gone. We know all this. I don't know if Trump knows all this. He thinks the reason that people are going other places is because there's not an incentive here. Well, the incentive isn't going to just be financial. So I'm going to tell you, Trump, if you would take a little more time to look into this, you might have a different approach than this one size fits all. If you want to fix we're losing American jobs, implement tariffs. This isn't going to work. And there's already people speaking out against this. Let's check this article out from Common Dreams, also reported on Deadline. Film insiders say Trump's proposed Hollywood tariffs would destroy entertainment industry. We won't be able to make movies for the same budgets. Actors won't get paid the same fees. And the list goes on, said one film professional. Simply, it would destroy the independent sector. Yeah, it's actually not going to destroy the studios. They're already destroying themselves. But yeah, this is all about attacking the independent film. That's what this is. Trump's announcement on social media Sunday evening. I guess it came out Sunday. We're getting to this now. So this is 2 days ago. He would begin the process of instituting a 100% tariff on films produced in foreign countries was met with confusion and shock in the U.S. entertainment industry. Yeah, it can be confusing and shocking. What's going on here? Okay, so filmmakers cautioning that such extreme levies would render many productions impossible and do nothing to save what the president called a dying movie industry. On his platform, he took issue with incentives. Now, look, incentives can be good. The reason that movies get made in other countries is because the tax incentives are there. If you want to punish filmmakers and add penalties to their budgets and penalties to if they are going to distribute in the U.S., that's going to hurt budgets. And like people are upset about, and I will tend to agree with this, if you're going to F with your budget, you're going to F with everything. You're going to lose everything. You're going to have to make cuts. You're going to have to make cuts because budgets can only be so much. Once you start implementing these fines and fees and penalties, and we're not just talking a couple dollars. We're talking about you want a 100% tariff. You're going to have to upgrade cost of filmmaking by possibly 100%. And with that said, we've seen this before. We understand how this worked with COVID. We saw that all the penalties, the COVID penalties, shutting down productions, adding excess costs for testing and excess days. And anytime you add a day to a production schedule, you're adding more money. Whatever your budget is, if you add one more extra day, if you have to shut production down and start again, you're adding more money, not just a couple dollars. If you're working on a multi-million-dollar film, and indie films can be, $20 million, some of them. You don't want to necessarily get higher than that. That's a little much. But again, let's say you have a $10 million budget. All of a sudden, you're going to be having to up it to a 20 million. How are you going to pull that off? You're going to have to make cuts, keep it closer to 10. And that's going to be cutting everything, from quality of the final product to a lot of jobs, a lot of the actors you're not going to be able to afford. So you're going to have to do no-name actors who don't have the pool and the ability to perform and bring an audience. So you got that problem. So he hates incentives. He wants punishments, as he says here. He's taking issue with incentives. They've pushed filmmakers out of the country. It's left Hollywood devastated. That and a lot of other things, which Trump hasn't taken a moment to look at. But also suggesting that simply traveling to other countries to produce films leads to foreign propaganda being embedded in the final products. That's a great point. So Commerce Secretary Lutnick suggests the administration is moving to implement the president's plan, writing, "We're on it." So they're actively pushing this. This isn't just some crazy middle of the night, Sunday night idea Trump had. They're actually actively pushing this right now. While the vast majority of U.S. films are already produced mainly in the U.S., okay, I mean, you could say the vast majority are produced in the U.S., but a massive amount are not. So he's right about that, but there's a reason. It's more complex than his Truth Social post. Providing jobs to actors, editors, other production staff. Many major studios, including streaming giants Amazon and Netflix, have brought their production shoots to cities like Toronto and Dublin, where local leaders have offered large tax breaks. Absolutely. It's all about the tax breaks, the cash incentives, especially for the independent film model. You want to present to investors that you have cash rebates in hand even before you start shooting. So of course you're going to take those incentives. Of course you're going to. Now Newsom, and we have never said much of a good word about Gavin Newsom, but in this case, I will give him points that he wants to get movies back to California. So what his instinct was, and this just happened a few months ago, he added additional incentives to California filmmakers. So we're personally looking into that. What can we get back rebate-wise to keep a film shot in California? That to me seems like a better approach. What Newsom has, because he doesn't want to lose the California revenue, specifically because as governor of the state, he's going to feel the most effects of films leaving. So I like the incentive war. I don't like the tariff war. Incentive war, much, much better for the worker. So Newsom says he's currently addressing the effects of the tax incentives he's been working on, including the makeup artists, camera operators, all these stuff. But he's been pushing tax credit, like I said, for studios and film locally. Putting a tariff on movies shot outside the U.S. will increase the cost of shooting, and the studios will lobby the exhibitors to raise ticket prices, and then the audience will skip the theater. And then, well, you see where this is going. Not a bad take from Newsom. I'll give him credit. Rarely do we give him credit, like I said, but he might be more right about this, I would say, than Trump is. So by instituting a 100% tariff on any and all movies coming out in our country and that are produced in foreign lands, the film industry veteran said Trump would not succeed in bringing production jobs back to the U.S. It would make it. He would make all but the biggest budget films impossible to produce. So this is where you get rid. Again, the independent filmmaker is destroyed. The studios still get to make their films. They don't care. They're going to do their AI anyway. They're already cutting out their staff. They're cutting out their creatives. Tom Hanks says he can't wait to be used in an AI version of himself where he can just exist forever and he can just go on with his life and his death and still exist for timelessness. Tom Hanks forever appearing on a screen. They don't care about any of this. They're already doing all that right now. So yeah, the studios will just continue doing their model, but the independent filmmaker will be screwed here. This is not the effect it's going to have, one industry professional told Deadline. It will make low and middle level production completely unproducible. Yeah, I have to agree with that 100%. Destroying many jobs from producer assistants to writers to post-production. It'll lessen the amount of big budget content created because the studios won't be able to make as much because the cost of production would be more. So it looks like not only is it going to be harder to shoot here, it's going to be harder to shoot anywhere. It's going to be harder to shoot anywhere. If we go to a foreign country to shoot a film, they're not going to be able to give us the tax breaks we wanted anymore because they're going to have to account for these tariffs as well. So this is only going to hurt the independent film. That's it. And look, I know a lot of you guys are like, hey, Trump's sticking it to China, he's sticking it to Canada, all the tariff wars, he's winning the war. But I'm telling you, we're talking about an industry that was already failing, and Trump is right about that. The industry's already failing. This is not how you fix that industry. You want to create an incentive war, not a tariff war. So the one size fits all is going to blow up in our faces. That's what's going to happen. We'll see. We'll see if he's able to even get this done. But maybe someone can educate him on how incentives work. He doesn't even know how the cash incentives work, tax rebates work in filmmaking. Maybe someone can explain it to him and then make him think that he came up with even a better idea to do an incentive war. That would be my suggestion. Somebody close to Trump needs to be able to have this conversation with him, explain to him how it works and what really is going on in Hollywood. The DEI stuff, that's what's going on. The AI stuff, that's what's going on. The studios basically controlling the content, controlling the streaming services. That's what's really going on. And that's why the workers are furious right now. This is only going to make it worse.